Welcome to the BumbleKast. I'm your host, Ian Flynn, the Bumble King, and joining me as always is my Bumble co-host, Kyle, JCRB Krause.
Hi, Ian. We're here. We've got a show to do. We got a lot going on. You're still sounding your voice is still sounding a little weak, but you're here, and we're going to answer a lot of questions.
Yeah. I'm still fighting off this chest infection. It's almost gone, but I am not at 100% just yet. So please forgive me for coughing and wheezing and sounding a little hoarse, possibly pony-esque.
Yes. Oh, well, you're just sick of Sonic, I think. That's what's going on here.
I can't be. Sonic's in my veins.
I know. You literally can't be sick of Sonic, because if you were, then what would you do?
That is a nightmare that keeps me up at night.
It's true. I can't. Yeah. Let's get into some questions. You know where these ones come from, right? They're all from our priority patrons over at patreon.com/BumbleKast, Ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, or our YouTube members. Although most of these actually are just from Patreon, but that's okay. We don't have to specify, really.
Regardless, we appreciate the patronage.
Yes, exactly. All right, here's one from 4Sonic Fan. Hi guys, one more month before Sonic's birthday. I always love all of the Sonic birthday art on the Sonic channel and in the comics and online. But let's give Scourge some birthday love this year as well. So question for you both. How would each of you design cover art for a Scourge birthday issue?
Oh, wow. So many things you could do. Like, have like a standard Sonic cover of him, striking a pose in front of a big multi-layer cake with all his friends. And then have the Scourge variant of Scourge busting out from inside the cake and just pelting everyone with wads of dough at super speed.
That would be good.
King Scourge sitting back, accepting tribute from his subjects, sitting on a throne made out of the Suppression Squad. They are all kneeling or bent over in uncomfortable positions to create the shape of a chair, and they are not liking it.
Or he's got all of his enemies in cages, but the cages have a nice little bow wrapped around them.
Sonic hog-tied from a tree branch, and Scourge is going, "Piñata, piñata!"
Oh, his favorite. Good. All right, here's one from Alphamon or Yukon. It's Cream's birthday. In an attempt to outshine the rest of the partygoers, Tails builds her the Chow Walker from SA2, and Shadow gives her the Omochow gun from his solo game. How much havoc will the bunny wreak? I can only imagine poor Vanilla having a heart attack upon seeing the aftermath.
No. Cream is a responsible little girl. And of course she's excited by these wonderful gifts. Vanilla, perhaps less so. But, they sit down and they read the instruction manual for the Walker and the Chow Cannon, a little bit every night before bed. And, Cream has to do a little bit of studying. She has to prove that she is going to be responsible with her new toys. Do a simple little laps around the garden in the big old mecha to make sure she has full control of it. And she's not going to go party hardy with it. It's just going to be something that she potentially uses when Eggman decides to be naughty. Then you have the mayhem.
Yes, but the mayhem is justified, and it's good mayhem.
And responsibly utilized.
That's right. Here's a question from Ann Tails. In the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, Blaze mentioned that the birthday cake in Sonic's dimension is better than the cake in her dimension. That got me thinking, just how bad must the cake in Blaze's world be if she, a princess no less, expressed excitement over the prospect of having this dessert during her visit to Sonic's dimension?
Well, Blaze's world is technologically behind Sonic's, so any cake on her world is probably made out of like real sugar and flour and actual ingredients, where in Sonic's world it's comparable if not more advanced than our tech, so it's full of sweeteners and all sorts of preservative crap that just makes it taste so good, and it's real bad, but damn, it's good.
The sugar's just as bad for you, though.
Yeah, but fabricated stuff always tastes better than the real thing, which is sad. It's how you know it's bad for you. I mean, Blaze might say, "Oh, this tastes so much better," but then you show her what goes into it, and she goes, "I'm sorry, how many compound words were in that? What animal produces it? Oh, no, this is formulated in a lab. You pour it all together." I see.
Here's one from Angie V. Kyubi from the Madoka Magica series approaches Surge with the chance to become a magical girl to fight witches in exchange for anything she wishes for. Anything. Assuming she's unaware of the true nature of witches and Kyubi's magical girl system, does she take his offer? And if so, what does she wish for and how does it go?
Well, it's Surge. She's not smart. She does not think ahead, so she would just wish for the ability to have the raw power and talent to take out anyone she wants, and then would proceed to take out whoever she wanted. Once she realized or learned the whole trade-off with becoming a witch, though, she would just go even harder into it because she gets what she wants, and then she becomes an even more destructive agent of chaos. So, win-win.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess there is no downside for her, huh? Nice. Here's a question from OzJam. A topic I see people discuss is the handling of adaptation, which is how well the adaptation does of handling the source material it's based on. However, one conundrum I see often is the changing of certain plot lines and how different it is from the original story, which, while I understand changing too much can be a problem, at the same time, I don't think the adaptation should be a retelling of the original story, at least from visual medium to another visual medium. So my question is, what do you think should be accomplished in an adaptation in terms of media, in terms of visual media, like comic to show? And does it depend if there should be differences from what the original story told, or would it be better for it to tell mostly the same story that it's based on?
I think it comes down to what you're doing with the adaptation. Like, if it is meant to be a thematic adaptation, like we'll say the MCU as one giant broad example. Like Captain America 2 was an adaptation of the Winter Soldier storyline. It was extremely different, but that's because it was built off of a different framework of a few movies versus the entirety of the Captain America run. The core elements remained, namely, Bucky was transformed into a super soldier. He had the robot arm, and Steve had to grapple with his best friend, who he thought was lost forever, turned into one of his more dangerous enemies. So the crux of the interaction was there. And to me, having read and seen both, I was satisfied because the heart of the story remained, and it was just told in a completely different way. And that's fine, because I understand that the movies are not for a faithful adaptation. It is an adaptation. It is a retelling. It's a remix. Compare that to Full Metal Alchemist. The original anime run, which was done before the manga was completed, goes in a completely different direction after a point. And I hate it. It is... that's a whole other rant. Whereas Brotherhood does take some liberties here and there. They trim things down where necessary to keep things moving along. But it is extremely faithful overall to the manga in terms of plot beats and character utilization and on and on and on. And it's an incredibly good anime because it sticks so close to the manga, which is like near perfection. Like, oh my God, dude. So had they gone completely different like they had in the original, it is an inferior adaptation because it loses the point of the story. It gets things wrong. It is not the adaptation. It is something different.
Even though the author was the one who said go different.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's not always the best call. It's like Game of Thrones, I think.
Or yeah, like Game of Thrones to a point. It took liberties with the material, but for the benefit of the show.
Right.
There are
Up
some things
until a
that I feel
point.
like the show, up until a point, there in the earlier seasons at the very least, I feel like some of the liberties that the show took were even better sometimes than what the book did. More concise, more direct, it felt more character driven sometimes. Jeff Thu over at Mother's Basement made a pretty compelling argument for the Netflix Cowboy Bebop series that if it had been its own thing, or if it was kind of like, if it wasn't trying to be Cowboy Bebop, but trying to be something like it could have been much stronger. But because they were trying to adapt beats from the anime, they missed the point of a lot of those. They missed the mark, and that hurt the show overall. If the Netflix show had been just, here is our interpretation of Bebop doing our own thing, or maybe even just set in the universe of it, then it might have been stronger. Whereas trying to ape things in the anime and missing the mark so completely soured the mood. So with adaptations, I think you have to decide very early on and convey very early on whether it is meant to be a faithful recreation using this new medium to accentuate what was there, or if it is taking that material and doing something new with it.
Yeah.
Like, if we were to say adapt the IDW stories into animation, not all of those stories would make for a good episode or a good season necessarily. They wouldn't necessarily translate into good gameplay. So there would have to be changes made in those instances for pacing and for content. But I feel like you could take those core ideas and moments and expand upon them in a way that you just can't do in comics. Like, you could really enjoy and invest in some of the action beats, or have more time to explore some of the secondary characters and greater themes that you just can't do with 20 pages a month.
Yeah. 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 Honestly, it really just depends on what you're trying to do. And I think sometimes either it just fails with audiences or just fails as an adaptation, regardless. But yeah, I think I see what you mean. Here's a question from Andrew D. Knuckles, who is brown over brains, inherited by blood and island all to himself, and guards a powerful gem. He was easily tricked into joining Eggman, and he is the last living member of his kind. Starline, who is brains over brawn, inherited by force a base of operations all to himself, and studied and lost a powerful gem. He admired and joined Eggman, although somewhat tricked by Eggman's showmanship. And he is dead, while plenty of platypi are presumably still alive. If you think about it, whether intentional or not, Starline was actually a great counterpart and foil to Knuckles. And despite this, we've never seen them interact. Without giving away any fan ideas, do you think being a counterpart and foil to Knuckles in this way could warrant bringing him back? What sort of interactions would you imagine Starline and Knuckles having if they had the chance?
The parallels are, to a degree, baked in, since Starline was inspired by Wekina, the Knuckles sprite, and in very, very, very early plans, there were thoughts to have more of that parallel, but that's just not where the character went ultimately. Like, the original pitch of the idea was that Starline and Surge and Kit would all appear together, like the full trio as a set. And there would have been the opportunity to play more with the Sonic Knuckles Tails trio.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that didn't pan out. So it's entirely possible to reintroduce Starline and give him that focus. Might be an avenue to go so that we don't risk retreading old ground with him. But that would mean a dedicated effort to build him in that direction. And would it make sense to do so given all the previous history? Because he doesn't really have a relationship with Knuckles at this point, outside of a distant metacontextual one. So it's a possible one, sure, but it's not just, you can't just take the superficial comparisons and use that as the foundation. It's a prompt to make you think, ooh, is this worth pursuing? But what you've listed there is not a basis for anything, because Knuckles has no interaction with Starline either. So we would need a reason for why Starline is shifting his focus to be antagonistic to Knuckles and build from there, which can be done, but I don't know if that's necessarily the way to go.
Well, maybe someday. Maybe not. We'll see. Here's a question from Axis. I recently beat the murder of Sonic and I love the game. 100% recommend. Now, let's say the same cast from the game gets stranded in a big tropical island and they can't escape by water since there are sea monsters lurking around. How do they survive? What's their escape plan? Who turns against who? What do they do for fun while they wait for rescue or for their escape plan to take effect? Apologies if this is a fan idea.
It's on the line.
Yeah, well, I would expect Monokuma to just show up.
I mean, it's a core premise. It's pretty open-ended. I think really rather it's worth pitching as a sequel to Murder Sonic the Hedgehog, you know? You know, it would lend itself to a lot of fun mix and match interactions, you know?
Yeah.
Not necessarily Sonic and Tails again, but you know, maybe Sonic and Vector, maybe Tails and Shadow, maybe Amy and Espio. Like, throw random darts at a board and pair up characters and see how they go about
it. Charmy and Shadow. Who gets annoyed first? I like it. Batman69 Lol has a question. How would you do an alternate universe where Amy Rose snapped and usurped Eggman as the series' main antagonist? How different would her kind of evil be from Eggman's? How would her minions differ from the Badniks? And how would the main cast, Sonic, Knuckles, Amy, Eggman, and Tails, feel about this new heel turn of events? And yes, the pun came before the question. And are you asking if how Amy would feel about Amy Rose? Wait, hold on. Is this like an alternate universe version of Amy that's evil? I'm confused, and it helped me.
I think they just went through the list of immediate names.
Oh, okay.
The biggest hurdle is to rationalize Amy having a heel turn, because
it's like Superman having a heel turn. She's going to force everyone to love each other.
Maybe that's the angle. You know, she's going to love and protect everyone from themselves.
Exactly. Yes. That's how I would imagine that would go.
Like, if she's usurping Eggman, that also helps out because she, you know, is trying to enact change and then starts making the same mistakes. So all these little animals, they're out in the wild. They're exposed to the elements. They can be hurt. They can be put in danger. But if they're inside Badniks, they're protected. They're perfectly safe inside these little... And they're mobile, too, so they can still move around. It's not like they're trapped anywhere. And, you know, she has experience. Badniks can be busted open. They can break. Some individuals who won't be named Sonic, you know, unwittingly break them open. So they need some way to defend themselves. So, of course, they need weaponry. And some of these little boo-boos don't understand that it's for their own good, so they have to be rounded up. Someone has to wrangle them, and, you know, maybe you need to have a little bit of tough love, and they need to be forced into the bed. It all makes sense in the end. Why is everyone fighting?
Why are you fighting against me? I'm trying to help people.
And, you know, anyone who fights her is being short-sighted or being too aggressive or being mean or purposefully not understanding. She takes that very personally. And we know how well she handles being insulted or threatened, which is to say, smash it with a hammer. You would also have the main cast, you know, they've known Amy. This is a heel turn, so they have seen the good side. So they would not want to immediately, you know, throw it. Well, maybe Knuckles. I mean, Knuckles might just throw hands because, oh, Amy turned bad? Okay, punch. What? She can take it. She dishes it out just as hard. Why is everyone looking at me funny? She putting animals and robots. Come on, guys, it's simple. But Sonic, Tails, etc. would be, you know, rather aghast. They don't want to hurt their friend. They're very sad that she's taken this path, but they also need to act because she's doing bad things. And Eggman, who, according to this question, has survived, is just chagrined he's been overthrown and she's doing a better job than he did.
For now.
He should have seen the writing on the wall, that whack-a-mole game that he installed in the egg carrier. She destroyed his score. Of course she was going to take over.
That's how she took over. Well, that's good. Well, that's good stuff right there. I like this idea. I like it. Here's a question from Beanboard. With Sonic Frontiers introducing the hack and slash elements to the gameplay, how do you think Sonic's interactions would go with Kratos, Dante, Bayonetta, and Raiden at the Thanksgiving dinner table? This sounds like a good cast for Poker Night at the Inventory.
Dude. So he would totally snark it up with Dante and Bayonetta.
Mm-hmm.
He would trade stories about destroying oversized robots with Raiden, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
And he would antagonize the crap out of Kratos. And I'm assuming this is, current dad bod Kratos, who actually tries to keep his temper for a short duration. So Sonic's going to prod to just the point where Kratos is about to flip his lid and then kind of back off because, just joshing with him. You want some cranberry sauce?
It's good. It's good. Yeah, I feel like Sonic would give Dante some crap for that weird off-tread, out of character offshoot that he had, and then Dante would give Sonic crap for, there's no shortage of a list of things.
I mean, Sonic starts in on it, and Bayonetta's like, darling, you've heard about the stones and glass houses, right?
Yes. Nice. There's one from C.S. Lewis fan. Are you familiar with the works of C.S. Lewis? Could you give us a brief review of some of your more favorite works of his? If you are. P.S. If you're not familiar, and perhaps to pique your intrigue, he was part of a writer's discussion group called The Inklings that included people like J.R.R. Tolkien.
Okay. I feel like we've missed out because of the passage of time, but we could have had The Lion, the Witch, and the Woomy.
Yeah.
Or Tolkien writing about the one calamari ring to rule them all, but I'm getting off topic. I'm not super familiar with Lewis's body of work. The Narnia series and all the other things he wrote. He was very prolific, more so than I initially knew. But no, I'm not super familiar with his stuff. I kind of read Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, or have been exposed to various interpretations of that story, and none of it ever really clicked with me. I didn't see any of the live action movies. It's just I don't know, something about it just doesn't click with me, and I don't really know why.
I have never seen any of them. I've never read, so it says, but how about the Woomy, the Umi, and the Vimo?
I mean, that's not to cast dispersion against Lewis, because, I mean, my God, he's one of the pillars of the English language.
Yeah.
And, that's not to look down on the questioner, because if you love Lewis's stuff, then by all means, enjoy. Yeah. I'm glad you have so much to read through. It's just something about it just didn't click with me.
The Lord of the Rings movies overshadowed him quite a bit, I think, also, which I think it was why maybe they didn't catch on quite in the same way.
Likewise, I can't get into Tolkien. Like, Hobbit was all right. I enjoyed getting through that, but like I tried to read Lord of the Rings, and it's just I can't. I know the good stuff is in there, and so many other people have greatly enjoyed it and delved into it and adapted it clearly, but just I can't get into his prose. I don't know.
Yeah, reading Lord of the Rings is something I tried and failed at, but I'll watch them. I'll watch the movies. Good adaptations there. But yeah. Here's a question from Conga. According to a Who's Who in an issue of the Sega Dreamcast magazine, one of Knuckles' favorite 90s moments is grunge rock. So what are his favorite grunge bands? Sonic Garden, Emerald Jam, Mystic Ruin Pilots, Badnik and Change, Chaos Sana, and does he listen to them more than rap?
You stole all my thunder, man. Those are how could I top any of those?
My favorite's Badnik and Chains. Although
that is a very good one.
Sonic Garden is also very good. And I do enjoy some Mystic Ruin Pilots occasionally.
That's clever.
I know, that's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, man. They're all pretty good, to be fair.
I mean, I guess he listened to that stuff in the 90s, but transitioned to more rap stuff in the early aughts.
Wow. Just like grunge actually did.
Yeah.
Sorta, yeah. I mean, grunge went to groove metal not groove. I guess groove metal kind of became grunge, and then grunge sort of became like whatever Korn is, and then that became new metal, and then yeah, it's all just a big cluster. Yeah, I'm down with it. All right, here's one from Dev. Okay, so I was curious. Do you think the Gameverse will ever explain where Shadow's chaos powers, such as Chaos Control, Chaos Spear, Chaos Blast, and Chaos Snap come from? Since the Chaos Force isn't canon, did they just come from Black Doom, or could it be a new thing that could be introduced in the future? Also, this question is kind of a follow-up, but do you think a new character like Eclipse could help explain where these abilities come from, or a new character if Eclipse can't be brought into the mainline timeline canon?
It's just Shadow's innate abilities, which come from his Black Arms DNA.
Shadow's just cool like that, I guess.
Same reason Sonic is fast, or Amy can pull a hammer out of nowhere, or Knuckles can break boulders with his noodle arms. It's Shadow has special powers because he's part alien.
It's magic. You don't have to explain it. Except magic doesn't exist in Sonic's world. But you don't have to explain that either. And our last question before we take a break is from Dead Air. How would you recast the Princess Bride with Sonic characters replacing the actors? Is Tails Fred Savage?
I don't know.
Who is Grandpa in that scenario? Uncle Chuck.
Maybe it's Grandpa Chuck telling the story to Chris.
Oh, okay, fine. We'll go with Sonic X. All right.
I mean, I kind of want to make the three kidnappers the hooligans, just because Fang poisoning himself with iocane just works, but then Bean is not an Inigo Montoya. That's not gonna work.
What Bark would be shoot, what is Andre the Giant's character name? I forget.
It's on the tip of my tongue. It's Andre the Giant. Come on now.
I know, pretty much, yeah.
I mean, he could.
Bean could be. Somebody killed his father, Ben.
You know what? When you're right, you're right.
Here we go.
Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Although I'm also tempted to cast Andre as Big.
Yeah.
Just for that scene as they're rolling up on the castle and they light him on fire. I am the Dread Pirate Roberts. All will look upon me in despair.
Yeah.
I mean, Sonic's got to be Wesley.
I suppose.
The effortlessly cool fella, which Princess Buttercup, we're going to default to Amy because she has that innocence and sweetness to her that I know Blaze is a princess, but Blaze has too much presence. She's too regal.
She's too real.
Who would be Humperdinck?
Oh, that might actually be Tails.
Oh, come on now. No.
I'm just trying to imagine.
Tails.
I can just imagine
Tails is the
Yeah.
Now, Tails is the soothsayer. Because
Okay.
I can hear him saying, "Have fun storming the castle."
Okay. All right, I'll give you that one.
Who's the six-fingered man?
I was just gonna say I could really hear Tails saying "inconceivable."
I mean, did we make Knuckles the six-fingered man just for the joke of Sonic to look at him and say, "I see you have no fingers on your glove"?
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like this is another storybook game. A weird one.
Maybe. I feel like it's not as easy to find a one-to-one there, but as has been brought up in the past elsewhere, it is in dire need of a Muppets incarnation.
I mean, yeah. What isn't?
Yeah, but that one in particular.
But yes,
God.
I know. But I'm just thinking, like, what, like, of course. Oh, that would be good. That would be fun. Oh, well. Maybe someday we'll see that. And maybe someday we'll see Sonic and the Princess Bride. Eventually. In the meantime, though, let's go ahead and take a quick break and come back with more BumbleKast. We're back, and we're here with a question from Domino. Will we ever see more of Club Rouge? It adds another layer to Rouge as a character, in my opinion, while also doubling as a really interesting setting that a lot of characters could use recreationally.
I don't know, but you are right.
Yeah, I would like to see it. Will we? Who knows? But I hope so. This next one is from E200 Paragon. I normally don't ask personal questions because that's not what I'm after when it comes to Sonic, but this idea was too interesting to ignore, so my question is this. If you were given permission to officially transplant something from post-Super Genesis Wave Archie to IDW, what is to say something from that universe canonically gets sent to IDW and causes shenanigans? What would you pick, and how would you play it out?
Now, if we were just saying an element to bring over just to fit into IDW, I feel like Eclipse makes the most sense. He has the most plot potential. He has the most interesting interactions. He would fit. He would make the most sense. He'd be the easiest to transplant. Or Relic to a lesser degree, just to expand Knuckles' cast, and she's very baggage light.
Mm-hmm.
She's a researcher. She's on Angel Island. Boop, boop, no problem. But if you mean a canonical bring over, like it is established in the story that this element comes from another version of Sonic and is now placed into IDW, shoot, I'd say the Freedom Fighters.
Just wholesale, pick them up, plop them over?
Yeah, like the Sky Patrol escapes Eggman's last hurrah in attempting to rewrite reality, and everything else is gone. And they, boop, shows up in IDW universe and have to acclimate to this new world. Because what would an Archie element be without a bunch of drama and baggage attached to it?
I mean, yeah, it has to. That's a requirement, isn't it?
They would retain their designs. They would retain their interactions. They would retain their history.
Mm-hmm.
But they would be detached from all the things that would drag them down with the Archie Association. The Sky Patrol allows them to be anywhere in the world and thus accessible at any point for any adventure. And they have a reason to stick together because it's all they have left of their world. And that brings them even into a tighter unity. So, yeah, that might be a way to go.
I'm with you on that one. Here's one from Ichigo Laser. What's going on with Sonic and Amy currently? Sonic seems to be kind of shy, but not pushing her away like he used to, in the IDW comics especially. I heard the unused/unheard lines from Frontiers, and I've seen the recent 5th anniversary Retail Incentive A cover, and I read what the Frontiers director said about Sonic's love and what it has to do with Amy. I'm not so much asking about, my pairing, but more so wondering if Sega is actually leaning into making them canon. I would be shocked if this actually occurred.
They are good friends, and romance is not a thing that the series is focusing on.
They are the goodest of friends. Oh, they seem like nice friends. Wink. Illegal Chow Fights has a question. So Sonic Frontiers really embraced the anime with all the inspiration from Evangelion. If you could choose any anime or manga for a new Sonic game to once again go all out on inspiration from, which would it be?
I wouldn't. Like, the Evangelion nods are there in Frontiers, to be sure, but Frontiers is not Sonic the Evangelion game. It's just some overt nods here and there and some parallels. Frontiers stands on its own 2 feet. The Death Egg is the Death Star. I mean, come on.
Uh-huh.
But it's not like we have a full one-to-one Star Wars inspiration. Super Sonic, Super Saiyan inspired. No debate there, but it's not remotely the same in terms of how it's achieved or portrayed or utilized. So I wouldn't say anything is like an all-out anime interpretation. And there's nothing I can think of immediately off the top of my head that I have seen in anime that I enjoyed that I would want to influence Sonic. Like, I feel like there's a lot of parallels in the presentation and stakes and fun of like My Hero Academia and Sonic. Bright, colorful characters, incredible superpowers, fighting overtly evil people. Sure. But I wouldn't want to introduce quirks to Sonic's world, I don't want there to be a reason why people have superpowers in Sonic's world. It's just a natural state of being. Some of them do. I don't want hard genetic markers. I don't want a certain percentile. I don't want a concern about building to a singularity as each generation gets stronger than the next. That's not what Sonic's story is. That's perfectly fine for Academia. That's where its story is going, and that's what it's building off of. But it's not an element that I would want to see transposed or aped in Sonic necessarily.
Mm-hmm. Well, Sonic is influenced by manga and anime without a doubt.
Sure.
But I mean, just in terms of the way it's written and everything too, is even influenced that way. But it's not like 1-to-1 exactly, just lifting things wholesale from anime just for the fun of it, just for the heck of it. Although I'm being told, put Sonic in a Gundam, you coward. Maybe.
If anything, if there's one guilty pleasure that I'd want to pluck from one and put into the other, if for just one game, I wouldn't mind to see fusions a la the Fusion Dance or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could have some fun combos and gameplay elements out of that. And then once you introduce the idea, the fandom is going to go nuts with it and create all sorts of grand and wonderful things. And then extend it to their own personal characters. And it would just be a fertile ground forever and ever.
And then also, but there's also the frightening potential there too. Let's not talk about that. That's a different thing.
I know what I said.
You know what you said.
I know what I'm asking for.
I know. Yeah, well, of course you do. You've been in this fandom long enough. Or adjacent to it. All right, here's one from Jolene B. It's time for a crossover question. In the red corner, we have the legendary Windmaster, the arrogant young avian who's convinced he's Sonic's greatest rival despite all evidence to the contrary, Jet the Hawk. And in the blue corner, it's the spiteful, lanky cheater who craves the acclaim and attention that the Mario Brothers get, while he's painfully aware he'll never have, Waluigi. What do you think would happen if these two D-list menaces met, and who would win when they inevitably get into a fight?
Now, hold on. Jet may not be like Shadow or Metal Sonic level, but he's at least C tier. No. I'm going to go say B tier.
Is he, though?
Because he actually can race, okay?
That's all he can do, though.
Yeah, he's very specific, but he is a very talented racer and someone who can legitimately beat Sonic.
At least
sometimes.
Waluigi can do multiple sports. He has multiple disciplines.
I can see them being extremely competitive against each other and extremely nasty, but I could also see them aligning to show up their goody-goody counterparts and delighting in the devilish antics that they could get up to in the meanwhile. So they could be the best of friends and the worst of enemies, given the day, you know?
I could see it where it's like they either team up or they start out, all against each other, but then they realize that they're more alike than different, so they just team up. And then they're a real problem.
In terms of fighting, we don't really know how well Jet can fight, but I think Waluigi has the reach. Like, I think one leg is as long as Jet is tall, so, boot him off the airboard mid-race over a cliff.
Waluigi would fight dirty, obviously.
Doing the cross chop as he crosses the finish line.
Good old Waluigi. It's good stuff. Good stuff right there. Here's a question from May Snow. If push came to shove, do you think Sonic's current game and IDW portrayals could be capable of pulling off some of the downright crazy speed feats the characters demonstrated in the Archie comics? Pre-SGW, Sonic had some ridiculous stuff with his super speed. I guess I'm asking that age-old question, how fast is Sonic? Or at least, how fast does he stack up across all of these continuities, if there even is a difference? Also, hello, Kyle, if you're the one reading this. Hello, May. I hope you and Ian are having a cool day. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Thank you so much.
Keeping the AC on, so it's pretty cool.
No. I would say current Sonic is not going to pull off the Silver Age nonsense that early Archie Sonic did. At least I'm not going to take him in that direction because I don't like that. Like, I can vibrate my individual molecules so I phase through matter, or I can scoop up seawater and pack it into a ball and throw it because I'm that fast. At that point, he's so fast, there is literally nothing that should stop him. I know this is a talking animal series, but it's silly. I don't like that level of incredible feats to be used once and then never thought of again without any greater context. That annoys me. I think like the upper limit, no pun intended, is the limit. I got your limit right here scene. That's the kind of over the top, ridiculous, but still within the bounds of his abilities that I would want to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is very frustrating when they use something once and then never again. It's like, what the heck? It's very, very, very annoying. Well, maybe eventually we'll get Hypersonic back again someday.
Yes, please open that can of worms again.
Too late. It's already open. What do you mean? The worms have all spread everywhere. The worms are everywhere. You're the one who threw them all over.
I did.
Oh, those wriggly worms. Oh, they're all over the place. All right, here's one from Noni. So what's up with the Bomb and Jade Wisps? Are they a type of Nega Wisp? Or do they just look like that but aren't all snarly? Or are they just goth? I'm a bit at a loss when it comes to those little buggers. Little butters. Butters.
All right, you have touched upon one of my pet peeves with Sonic right now, and it's not important. I realize that, but I have opinions.
Oh no, the Sonic fan getting all up in arms about something that doesn't matter? No, never happened.
Look, you.
I know, I get it.
Because colors establish that wisps have no mouths and one or more eyes.
And they must scream.
And that Nega wisps have no eyes and the snarly fangly mouth.
Uh-huh.
That is the clear visual distinction of what a Nega wisp is, and we see in the ending cutscene them converting back into normal wisps when they have their hyper go-ons restored. But then Lost World and subsequent games introduced wisps like Bomb and Jade and such that have all the characteristics of a Nega-Wisp, but they shouldn't be there anymore. Nothing has taken their hyper-go-ons. So, and I brought this up actually when working on the Rise of the Wisps short, the animation that with Colors Unlimited, yeah, or Ultimate. Colors Ultimate. There we go.
Whatever it was called.
And was told, no, they're just normal wisps. And I'm like, but that's not right. So I know how I would want to address it, but that's kind of an internal thing, and it is not remotely a priority. So if something ever comes down the line and highlights it, and I seem particularly pleased, you know that I got to steal 5 minutes of a meeting somewhere and convince someone that, yes, this is how they should be.
When that hashtag knowing smile comes, you'll know. You too could also have that hashtag knowing smile. Here's one from a Phantomist. Since 2011, with Kirby's Return to Dreamland, the Kirby series has developed a wide, series-encompassing lore that ties the plot points and stories from across all the series together. Magalore implied to have met Marks from Superstar in RTDL, the Dimensional Mirror reappearing in Triple Deluxe, a Clockwork Star, aka a Galactic Nova, being in Planet Robobot, etc. My friends got very similar Kirby lore vibes from Sonic Frontiers, with it constantly making note of and acknowledging past events, with the standout being the Ancients' connection to Chaos from Sonic Adventure. As you're someone known for trying to tie everything together, what are your thoughts on how the Kirby lore is put together, considering your work is fairly similar? Personally, I think Kirby lore is a fantastic addition to the series that really rewards longtime fans without being super alienating to newcomers.
I'm not as well versed in the Kirby stuff. Like some of the games you mentioned, and I'm like, really? That was there? I don't remember that. I do remember the Nova showing up though, and I freaked the frig out of that. It's like, oh my god, it's a Nova. But it's an interesting take because it's much subtler about things, and it's usually held off till the tail end of the game. Like I was cracking up in what was the last one? Forgotten Kingdom?
Yeah, Forgotten Land, yeah.
Forgotten Lands, there we go. Where it's a pretty standard Kirby fare until you get to like one of the final bosses, and it's like voice acting, lore dump, monologues. What did, huh? Why? When? How? And I ate it up, sure, but it was.
Well, I mean, yeah, I thought something was kind of off when they had the post-apocalyptic human city in there. I don't know. Seems like that was be like a big red flag. Like, oh boy, something's going on here. Oh no.
But it is interesting in how they tackle it, and I wish it was slightly more accessible. I'm sure there's wikis out there that make it, fairly easy to digest, but I wish it was presented in a little more user-friendly way because I don't necessarily remember everything between titles and putting it all together. But I also appreciate the fact that that would be Kirby. Kirby is not really a narratively driven series too much. There is bad thing. Kirby stopped the bad thing. He is adorable and badass at the same time. It doesn't need to be a narratively robust game. So saving it in the background or presenting it at the end once you've really devoted yourself to it is perfectly fine. It is a way of doing it. And it also, again, kind of is the punchline. It's like, here's super cutesy, simple Kirby. Oh, wait, lore. And finally, Eldritch Horror.
It's a lot like Sonic in that way, actually. Although Sonic tends to be lore heavy. Although it depends on the era we're talking about, I suppose. But for at least a time there in the early 2000s, Sonic was a lot of lore, very lore heavy.
Oh, yeah.
Then it stopped for a bit. Now it's back in full force.
And the thing there is, too, is like Adventure 2, the robust narrative is throughout. It starts simply and builds up like any good story does, but it's a driving factor for the game. It isn't a background element necessarily.
All right. Well, if you want a full primer on Kirby lore, Noni in our Discord did a full-on lore dump of Kirby. Took about 11 hours.
Oh, God.
And they put it all out on the line, and it's over in the video games channel. If you go there, you'll find it pinned at the beginning of it, and it's pretty wild. It's fun. They go freaking ham on it. It's very funny, but very fun to read. So go check it out if you're in there. If you're not in there, well, what the heck? Hurry up. Join the Patreon. Here's one from Professor Scruffy Matt. In the Sonic Frontiers Divergence prologue, Knuckles ends up on the Starfall Islands after discovering a cyberspace portal when he's trying to help a nearby Chow. Was finding it a coincidence, or did Rouge bribe that Chow into luring Knuckles away so that she could take the Master Emerald? Did Knuckles get home after the end of Frontiers to find his island underwater? Wait, is that a spoiler for the DLC?
No, it was largely coincidence, but you'll notice Tikal kind of floating up towards Sky Sanctuary, prompting Knuckles to go look in that direction. Did she know, or did she just have a feeling? That is just one of the many mysteries.
Wait, what? Tikal? Oh no. Oh no. Tikal. Is this a thing? Is this a foreshadowing for something?
No, it's in the episode.
I know.
The animation.
I know, but I don't think I quite got that it was supposed to be Tikal.
Well, what other pink light bowl on Angel Island pointing things out would it be?
I don't know, man. This is Sonic. There could be pink light flying things everywhere. This could be just anything, man. What am I supposed to think? I don't know what I'm supposed to think. Help me, Ian. Help me think.
I just told you. No thinking required.
No,
process information. Accept fact.
Think for me, please. I can't think anymore. Oh.
I think you should move on to the next question.
Okay, fine. Here's one from Ragamillion. I really appreciate your answer to my question regarding Tails' fighting capabilities, and I liked your views on Tails. I want to clarify that I don't think Tails should be overpowering opponents. I agree that wouldn't make sense. Tails works smarter, not harder. What I meant was that I'd like Tails' fighting prowess and intelligence to be blended together. A nice balance of both. When he defeated Ruff and Zamam, he didn't use gadgets, but he did use his smarts and physical skills. I'd love a longer and more physical fight that showcases both of these assets and that Tails possesses, and have him win. I know I said physical fights are what Sonic's for, but why does he get to hog all the fun? Let Tails get that moment to shine for once. It'd be a nice taste of his incredible potential. Sorry if I wasn't clear last time.
I think this is coming down to a degree of personal biases and just nuance in the interpretation. You want to see Tails win in a smackdown drag out fight, and I get that. I don't feel that's really in theme with his character. He's not going to stand his ground and fight to the bitter end.
Unless he needs to
showcase. I mean, he's not really one to showcase all of his cool skills just to win the fight. If he can't decisively take someone out with one of his particular signature moves, he's going to back off and think of a smarter way to go around it. That's who he is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess you can find a scenario to force him into fighting instead of being smart about it. But, you're saying in a blend of intelligence and his skills, but that's all in the execution. Like, he's going to back off and not fight necessarily. Unless you're thinking kind of like a Midoriya type thing or a manga-esque in mid-punch, he's calculating the angle of the attack and the force necessary to render the perfect execution of this attack. But I really don't like that style of storytelling. And I'm not saying that's what you want specifically. I'm just trying to find that middle ground of what you want specifically, because I feel like I've already answered and given what you want, but you don't. And again, I feel like this comes down to nuance and just personal bias and interpretation.
All I know is Twitter is going to be real mad next week.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Hopefully not rocking you, though, because basically we're kind of in agreement. It's just getting down to, like, the finest of fine points.
Yeah. Please don't get mad, Twitter. I know you will, but please don't.
It's largely moot because I'm not, like, the singular writer for Sonic. Somebody else might do exactly what he wants, in which case he can point it out and say, yeah, that's what I meant. And go, oh, okay.
Hey, there you go. There you go. All right, we got one last question, and it's from our good buddy Scurvy Pirate Dog. So to understand, Tikal is dead, and during the ending to SA1, she and Chaos went to the afterlife. Well, I read some issues of the Archie Sonic X comic, and there Tikal offers Cheese to come with them and the other Chow. So did Tikal offer to kill Cheese and drag his soul to the afterlife? Is Tikal the Chow's Grim Reaper? Oh no!
I think that was just a slight misinterpretation of what was going on with Tikal and Chaos at the time. / changing oversight from Sega. So,
but it's funnier this way.
Plus, I mean, it's Cheese. It doesn't really matter if he goes to the afterlife or not. He'd come back if he wanted to. What are you going to do? Stop him?
I'm not going to stop him. Ridiculous. You can't stop Cheese. You can't stop Big, and you can't stop Cheese.
Exactly.
Tikal is a very sweet and polite embodiment of death.
Instead of playing chess for your soul, she offers checkers if that's more your speed.
Oh boy.
Is that too robust? How about some tic-tac-toe?
Oh boy.
Of course, if you lose to the Grim Reaper at tic-tac-toe, I guess you gotta have to go at that point. You don't even want to be alive after that.
Oh no.
I didn't even get a cat. He just completely destroyed me. I guess I have to go now.
Oh no. No.
Oh. I lost tic-tac-toe. I'll never live this down. You're exactly right.
Well, if Tikal is dead, then what's she doing floating around as a ball of light?
Ghost.
That is a ball of light floating around, Ian. That is not a ghost. A ghost is something completely different. Ghost looks...
Enduring spirit, then. Whatever.
A ghost is like... The ghosts live in the Sandopolis zone. In
Except
Pyramid
for
Cave.
Mansions.
Pyramid Cave.
Other houses.
Wherever else they are. I don't know. She a force ghost. Maybe that's it. Whatever. Maybe she's a ghost of the future. There we go. But All right, let's get out of here.
That's going to wrap us up for this edition of the BumbleKast. Thank you to everyone over at patreon.com/BumbleKast, Ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, and our YouTube members for supporting the show. Sorry, I don't have the lung capacity to get all through all 200 plus of you guys this time. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and we will see you next time on the BumbleKast.
We'll make it up to you later. In the meantime, get out of here. Leave. Go. You've been listening to the BumbleKast, a co-production of Bumble King Comics and the KNGI Network. Original theme music composed by Ken Coda Snyder. Remixed intro by T-Lopes. Find out more information, along with podcast feeder links, MP3 downloads, and more at bumbleking.com and kngi.org.